In this video, we're going to talk about dodging and burning. Now, there are several ways of doing dodging and burning and also several applications. But before we get into any of that, we need to first understand what is dodging and burning in the first place. Well, in simple terms, dodging means brightening and burning means darkening. That's just it. It is as simple as that. Now you might ask, why would we want to dodge and burn? Why would we want to brighten and darken certain areas of the image? Well, there can be several reasons. Number one, you might just want to even out the tones. Number two, you might just want to brighten up a harsh shadow, reduce the effect of it. Number three, you might even want to create a shadow. Number four, you might just want to add some dimension to your photo. Number five, maybe you want to add some makeup or stuff. So the applications, as I told you, are limitless. And the reason why it is limitless is because it's just simple brightening and darkening on certain areas of the image. Now, when it comes to fundamentals of retouching or basic retouching, we use dodging and burning to add dimension to our portrait. Without dodging and burning, our portrait can look a little flat. With dodging and burning, we try to add depth, dimension, and add a little shape and structure to the face. But the question is, how can we really use dodging and burning to add dimension to an image? And what does it exactly mean visually? Well, I have an example for you. Let's take a look at this circle. It's a simple circle, blue circle, right? Let's say the light is coming from this direction, okay? And if the light is coming from that direction, we might want to brighten up these areas, right? And we might want to darken up these areas, all right? If you want to turn it into a sphere, right? And when we try to do that, have a look what happens. It was a simple circle. Now, just by brightening a particular area and darkening the other area, what has it become? A sphere, right? A three-dimensional shape from a simple two-dimensional shape. So we added dimension to it. Makes sense now? You can even go further and add some darkness at the bottom, maybe go ahead and add some shadows and have a look. It's a completely different thing. Let's take a look at the before and after. So this is what we had before. This is what we have now. And the only change that we have made between these two is just we have brightened some areas and darkened some areas. That's just it. And that, my friend, is dodging and burning in a nutshell. So what did we learn from this, my friend? Whenever we want to add dimension by dodging and burning, that is brightening and darkening certain areas of the image, always brighten the areas which face the light and darken the areas which do not face the light. In this case, this area faced the light, so we brightened that, and these areas did not face the light, so we darkened that. And that is how we turned a 2D circle into a sphere. While working on an actual portrait, dodging and burning also acts as a tool to push back or bring forth a particular area of the image. Let's say the nose is just coming too forward towards the camera, okay? If you want to push it back, you just have to darken that area. And let's say you want to just bring forth the cheekbones. You just have to brighten that area. So you can use dodging and burning to push back or bring forth certain areas of the image with reference to the camera. Let us move on to an actual real-world example. In this case, have a look. The skin retouching is done here. However, the face still looks flat. We need to add some dimension and shape and depth to it. Well, again, there are several ways to do dodging and burning. A lot of people like to add a gray layer, turn the blend mode to overlay so that the gray hides, and just brighten and darken certain parts of the image. Or they can also change the blend mode to soft light. That works as well. Soft light is a little milder. One of my favorite ways, I'm going to show you two ways how I personally do it. You can also use the gray layer. Just look it up on the internet. There's a lot of articles on that. But what my favorite way is that adding a simple blank layer. It just is so easy to do. Actually, all you have to do is to create a new layer, just a simple blank layer, that's it. And change the blend mode to soft light. Okay? Take the brush, take a soft round brush. decrease the flow to about 1 or 2%. Now, I would recommend start with 1, have a little practice, and then you can go higher. But to save time, I'm going to go with 2% so that we have a higher intensity and we can work faster. Now keep in mind, the lower the intensity you will have, the more precision you can have as a beginner. Alright, let's take the brush and select that layer, and you can actually name it dodging and burning or dodge and burn. You can take the brush, make sure the blend mode is soft light, make sure the foreground and the background colors are black and white. If there are some other colors here, like red and certain other color in the background, well, just press D for default. Now you have black and white. Now all you got to do is to zoom in and paint accordingly. Now how would you paint? How would you figure out which areas to darken and which areas to brighten? To be very honest, it's mostly practice, but you have to keep certain principles in mind. Number one, figure out where is the light coming from. So in this example, if I show this to you, and this is just for indication, the light is coming from this side, as you can clearly see. So these areas would be dark. Her nose is protruding, so this area would be dark, this area would be dark, these areas would be bright, these areas would be brighter, this area would be dark, this area would be bright. So you get the point how this works now? Alright, the other thing you have to keep in mind, the areas that you want to push back or bring forth. Depending upon that, let's say you want to push back this area. Alright, so you would darken that area. You want to bring forth the cheekbones here, so you would want to brighten that area. That's how it works. Alright, I want to push back this particular area so that we have more head shape there. It's up to you. It really comes with practice. Let's go to the dodge and burn layer. Press D, make sure that the brush you have selected is the soft round brush. Set the flow to about 1 or 2%, and then let's start painting with black and white. So the areas that you want to darken, you would paint with black, obvious. The areas that you want to brighten, obviously white. So let's start with the forehead a little bit. So we're going to simply just start painting with black over there. Alright. Now there's also a way in which you can prevent darkening unnecessary areas, which I'm going to tell you how to do. For that you have to keep dodge and burn layers separate. So this is what I'm darkening certain areas of the image, darkening the nose area, darkening above the eyes. Okay. And then you can maybe just darken this area to bring the nose up a little bit. I'm doing a super quick job here, my friend, because I have to show you some other techniques too. Alright, darken up this particular area, and then let's go a little faster. Let's go 5. Darken up this particular area. You see how we are handling that? See, we are darkening the shadows a little more to just bring up the face a little more. Okay, just little things here and there makes a ton of difference. Might not look like much now, but once you look at the before and after, you would realize this is indeed a major difference. So we have painted too much, and some of the areas that we are darkening can get a little oversaturated. I'm going to tell you how to deal with that. But for mild dodging and burning, this is going to be enough. So anyway, so this is the result. Here's the before, here's the after. You see the change right there? Isn't that massive? So this is just for very mild dodging and burning. And if you think you have painted too much, like I feel I've painted too much here, if you're using the later versions of Photoshop, you can hold the tilde key, your brush turns into eraser, and then you can start painting right over there. And you release the tilde key, it gets you back to the brush. Alright, this only works with the later versions of Photoshop. I think 2020 or 2021 and onwards. Alright, I'm gonna paint here one more time. Now, If you're just doing basic dodging and burning, like if you're quickly editing your image, you want to add a little bit of dimension to it, you can do dodge and burn in the same layer. That's why I have named here both dodge and burn. So if you want to brighten some area, press X. Now you have white as the foreground and black as the background. So let's say you want to brighten this area a little bit. You want to brighten this area a little bit. I think I went too far. All right, anyway, maybe the nose here a little bit. Okay. Maybe this area a bit. This particular area. Just add some shine there, smile there. All right. Okay. I feel this is more than enough. Now, what you can also do, add some highlights here and there to make it exciting. You can add a highlight here. Sorry, not too much. Add a highlight above the eyes on the eyelids. Add a highlight there. So little highlights here and there can help. Now know that this was a super quick job. Keeping that in mind, let's take a look at the before and after. So here's the before, here's the, just look at it. Look at the dimension that we have added. Here's the before, here's the after. Amazing, isn't it? Now you wouldn't have to go that opaque. You can go a little less. So you can decrease the opacity and slowly and gradually increase it and just stop at the point which you like. I feel that if I was doing a very quick job, I would stop right over there at about 50%. And here's the before, here's the after. You see that little dimension we added on the face? So that's one way of doing that. That's a super quick way of doing that. You can really spend hours on dodging and burning. All right. So that was method number 1. Now, if you do want a little more control, I would recommend doing it with curves, because that comes with a mask and also allows you to work with other adjustment layers as well. But this is my favorite technique too. I use it mostly, I must say, 70% of the time, because most of the times I don't want to go super advanced. Alright, the other way is create a simple curves adjustment layer, create a point in the middle and simply bring it down like this. Now you can select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I. Simply take the brush, and this time you just have to keep white as the foreground color unless you want to erase the effect. Flow similarly at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever suits with you. Let's keep it at 4. And similarly, just start painting on the areas that you want to darken. Now for this one, I'm going to take a little time though. Now in this case, as I said, this area looks very plain. We want to just create a corner and push that area inside. To do that, just darken that area as well, just a little bit. You can also work the fingers if you want. So now we have darkened most of the areas. Let's take a look at the before and after. So here is the before, here is the after. Massive change. Let's zoom out and take a look. Here is the before, here is the after. However, there are several problems with it. In the process of doing it, you might also have darkened certain areas which are too bright to dark. And this can be used as a cheat sheet, whatever I'm about to show you. So if you have gotten professional with it, if you have lots of years of practice with it, lots of years is not required, I'm just exaggerating. If you have enough practice with it, you don't have to worry about this. But if you're new to this, or if you want to be quick about it, and if you don't want to work hard too much, use this cheat sheet. It is just a way in which that you would remove the areas that you have darkened from the bright areas. Okay, does that make sense? It would just remove the darkening that you have done from the bright areas. Okay, to do that, double click on the right hand side of the layer. As you have already guessed it, this is going to be blend if. Just take this away or hide it from the bright areas of the underlying layer or the layer that is lying under it. To do that, take the rightmost slider and slowly and gradually bring it to the left. And as you do that, it goes away from the bright areas. But this is too harsh, right? So hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on the slider to break it apart and take it all the way apart like this. This is just a cool trick to go subtle with it. Hit OK. Let's take a look at the before and after and look at the improvement. Here's the before. We had accidentally darkened some areas. Here's the after. It just miles that down. It was not an accident actually. If you totally want to do manual work and you totally want to sculpt the face and you want to figure out, all right, this area needs to be pushed down and this area needs to be brought up, then I would not recommend this. This is just to, number one, make the effect not as strong. Number two, if you are a beginner, this will help you so that you don't accidentally paint on the bright areas. But as you progress, I would recommend not to use this. All right. Now, here's another problem with this. The areas that we have darkened, they have gone a little more saturated. So how do we make it less saturated? Or if you feel that the areas that we have darkened have gone a little more red, how do we go about that? Well, this is curves, my friend. If you want to reduce the reds, just go to the red channel and just reduce it. See if that works out for you. In this case, it doesn't work much, so we're going to take the help of hue saturation. So click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose hue saturation. And we want to limit hue saturation just to the curves mask right here. So single click on this button, this creates a clipping mask. Now you can control the saturation. If you take it all the way to the left, the dark areas become absolutely desaturated. We don't have to do that. Let's go a little subtle here. Let's go for -14. Now have a look. Without hue saturation, they were just too saturated. Have a look. Here's the before, here's the after. Did you see that? Look at this area. Here's the before. It's so red, can be very saturated. These areas as well. Here's the after. You see? The excess red is now gone. If you want to go even further here, you can do that. You can just go choose the reds from the top and just make sure that the red areas are selected. You can just play with the range to just expand it and make sure all of the reds and the yellows and everything that you wanted is selected. And then let's set the saturation and hue back to 0. And then you can play with the hue, see what works for you. Sometimes nudging the hue helps. Or you can also play with the saturation and just take away the reds. All right, that helps a lot. So I'm going to take the reds away actually to -22 and set the master saturation to 0. It's a little more natural in my opinion. Now similarly to brighten the areas, you would create another curves adjustment layer. So this was for burning. Let's create a dodge layer. So create a curves adjustment layer, and this time we would take it up like this and select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I, and just start painting on the areas that you would like to brighten. I'm going to take it even more up. Take the brush, white as the foreground color, make sure the flow is low, and start painting. So this is one area I would love to highlight. Here's another area. Just add some shine to the eyelids, and maybe you want to work on the nose. Add some simple highlight to the cheekbones. I'm just doing general adjustments here. Now, keep in mind, there's also a technique in dodging and burning where you just use dodging and burning to even out the skin tones, and you would do that if you were creating a magazine cover. Just like, for example, you see this one patch that is dark, you would decrease the flow very low to like 1 or 2% and then just brighten just that particular area to fix that, to even that out. That's a different thing. That is not adding dimension, all right? We sure have added some highlights. You can do the same with the fingers. Just simple highlights here and there. I would increase the flow to about 4%. Just to go a little faster. See the little patches I removed with dodging and burning? That is just me evening out skin tones with dodging and burning. Also, that's another application. Anyway, so that's it. I wouldn't do more. Here's the before, here's the after. See that? See how we just evened that area out before, after? So now once you have done that, we humans have a tendency to go overboard. We always do it too extra. Let me share with you what I mean. So here's the before, here's the after. Just look at the massive difference. Before, flat face, after, tons and tons of dimension. But then again, this can be too much dimension. It might seem like she's a 3D model. So we have to dim it down. So whatever dodging and burning that you have done, let's name it dodge. Select the first layer, hold the shift key, select the bottommost layer, and by the way, you can also alter the color of dodge with hue saturation just as we did with the burn layer. Press Ctrl or Command G to group it up, and you can name it dodging and burning. Now it's a group. Burning is separate, dodging is separate. You know what is the advantage of this? Now, of course, you can select the group and decrease the opacity, dial it down. But maybe you don't want to dial down the dodging. Maybe you want to dial down just the burning. So you have the independence to just select the burning layer and dial it down. So I want to dial it down just a little bit, not too much, probably at about 50%. And here's the dodging. The dodging is pretty good. I want to keep it the way it is. So there you go. Here's the before, here's the after. Just a little dodging and burning adds so much dimension to the face or portrait, whatever you want to call it. And you can actually apply dodging and burning all over the body or with anything, just like we applied to the two-dimensional circle. Just a couple last points to keep in mind and do a quick little recap. Whenever you're adding dimension using dodging and burning, brighten the areas which face the light, darken the areas which are not facing the light, brighten the areas that you want to bring forth towards the camera, and darken the areas that you want to push back away from the camera. That's all there is to it. And you can use any technique you want to brighten or darken the areas. That's up to you, your choice. I have taught you lots of different tools to do that, not just in this lesson, but in previous lessons as well. Just open up your imagination, just experiment, do what you feel is right, just understand the concepts of dodging and burning. I hope this lesson helped. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.